you would think 15 mil to play with and mill out, that should be enough, but they're just so messed up that I don't even think I have 15 mil. Welcome back everyone. This is probably gonna be a relatively short video about this client commission where I've been asked to make an 8-seater dining table from this pile of northern silky oak. Where there might be a bit of drama though, and some kind of a story arc, is whether I'm gonna be able to get enough material out of these boards. Whew, they are gnarly, and whether the client's going to agree to spend the extra money to get them milled and potentially buy extra timber on top of it to supplement all the unfortunate waste. And I should probably mention that they only want the tabletop made, the base they're going to get from somewhere else. These boards are just so gnarly and twisted. They are all around 40 mil thick, and for a tabletop this size, I don't want to go less than 25 mil thickness. So you would think 15 mil to play with and mill out, that should be enough, but they're just so messed up that I don't even think I have 15 mil. So what I'm gonna do is suggest to the client that I rip them all down. That will get rid of a lot of the twisting. The thing though is I've got to now convince the client of taking these beautifully wide boards and saying to them, you're no longer gonna have a table with wide boards. I did speak to him about it briefly, so I'm sure he'll be all right. But that, at this stage, is, I think, pretty much the only way I'm gonna make these work. All right, I'm back. It's been a couple of days. The client has agreed to the idea of cutting these boards thin, less than 100 mil. So that gives me a lot of room to play with. I'm now gonna start working through the boards, cutting them into strips. And once I've done that, I'll see what I get out of the pile. And then I can make some kind of determination on whether I need some more timber from my local timber yard. Time to make some sawdust. All right, this is going to work. Caveat, it's going to take a very long time. Something that's really working in my favor, this board is not entirely flat, but because silky oak is relatively soft, when it comes time to do the glue up, I mean, I can force that down like that. I don't need to make sure that everything is rock solid flat. Now in the case of this board, I should be able to get a wide board out of this. And I think having a combination of wide boards and thin boards is actually going to look pretty cool. Cutting with the circular saw is definitely a lot messier, but it's way easier to take a tool to a big piece of timber as opposed to trying to push this through the bandsaw. All right, this was one wide board. I cut it from that down into 3 strips. Of these 3 strips, I've now created this, just for reference. From this edge across, that's a meter. So it's gonna be a lot of boards. I've just been to Studio Double. One sec. I just wanna put the story on pause to explain a couple things. At this stage, the client asked to extend the width of the panel, which meant that I needed extra timber. They were on board with the extra cost, so I went over to my local timber yard and picked some up. All right, back to the video. I've essentially had to say to the client that I cannot get the rest of the timber out of those gnarly boards that he gave me. So I'm gonna have to go and buy about 500 mil width worth. Now there is going to be a bit of work in this because I'm cutting each one of these into 3 pieces. But what should make this relatively easy is these are all mostly dimensional and they're only 25 mil thick. So this should take no time at all to cut through this. Right, so I'm getting towards the end of the width that I'm after. I've got about 200 mil left to go. In the interest of doing multiple things at once to save time, I'm gonna start the glue up process now. That can start drying while I continue cutting more strips. Now it's very tempting to try and glue all of these boards up in one go. I have the clamps for it, but I'm almost certainly going to misalign these boards so I'm gonna need to take more off when I flatten it, and that's no good. I've only got about 5 mil to play with. I've tried to do big glue ups like this in the past, and I've got it wrong, and it just screwed me over for the rest of the project. So this time around, I'm gonna spend a little more time on the glue up, but I feel more confident about the end result. To help add to the panel, I had some silky oak kicking around the shop, which I used, and I charged the client the same as what it cost to buy it from the timber yard. At this stage, I was running panels as wide as my thicknesser could accept. I would get one side flat and then flip it over and then reference off that side and then get the other side flat. I couldn't go any wider than this, so this left me with 5 panels that all needed to be glued together to create the final piece. Cleaning up these boards also uncovered an issue that I needed to fix before moving on. So one of the glue lines didn't quite come together as much as I'd wanted. There's a tiny gap. So to make sure this doesn't split any further, I'm gonna throw in a bow tie. This is the underside, and that'll keep it together for good. I like to use bow ties because I think they're a good look, but because this was on the underside and probably never going to be seen, I didn't bother checking it with the client. I do like the idea though that maybe in years to come, one of his kids are going to notice it and it's going to be this big discovery and a cool memory for the family. Now it was time for the final glue up where I brought all the panels together. This is the final glue up, so it's this big panel and this big panel, and I'm having a hard time getting this joint to seal properly. I've checked it with my long straight edge, but then when I bring the 2 panels together with a single clamp in the middle, I can see the ends are joining nicely, but then the middle isn't. Which says to me either one or both of these boards has a slight concave shape to it, and possibly because of the width, because there's so much material to pull through, the clamps just aren't gonna be able to do that. So I'm gonna try something that should work. I'm gonna use that long straight edge and my router with a straight bit and recut these joining edges. It is better, not perfect, but better. All right, the glue up went fine. All of those small gaps seem to have been filled with glue, and the bead of squeeze out along it was very consistent, which normally means that it's a decent join. I've just been on the phone to the client and they want this roundover to be a bit smaller. So here's a lesson for all the new furniture makers out there. Unfortunately, the conversation between myself and the client was, please round over the corners so that they are kid friendly. I said, no problem, I'm a dad, I know what that means. And that was it. That was the extent of the conversation. A lot of interpretation going on there. The frustrating thing is I actually had them on site looking at the table when they made the decision to round over the corners. So then and there, I could have just drawn the type of corner that we want and this would have all been avoided. Now, I'm not blaming myself. This was all done very vaguely. I'm not blaming the client either because they didn't think about the definition of a rounded corner. But if you can get your client on site to look at it and actually show them what a 10 millimeter, 20 millimeter, 30 millimeter rounded corner looks like, you're gonna save yourself a lot of headache. Because now in this case, this 2 meter long table is going to have to come down by 50 mil. While I had the table flipped over with the underside on top, I used this opportunity to cut in a drip edge. If you're interested in drip edges and want to know more, I'll link to a great John Peters video. All right, this is the finish that I'm using for this outdoor table. It's come recommended. I hope it's going to be good. We will find out. Because it's going to be an outdoor table, there's a bit of tint, and this will help against UV protection. All right, I've done this once before. I've also dropped a piece of furniture like this before, so I'm always a little nervous. But now it's gotta make sure it doesn't slide off at me. Take the weight, take the weight. All right, no, stop sliding. Stop sliding. Nope. This is not good. There you go. Before moving on, I need to get a picture of the thumbnail for the video. So that will be next. Thumbnail's done. Let's get this flipped over. Okay, that's the hard part. Just a quick bend, lift with the knees, and we're up. Easy, easy. All right, now it's just about putting on a profile on this edge. I'm just gonna do a simple round over. I'll sand up to 240 grits and then apply some finish. And then this project is done. Okay, so that is the end of this project for me anyway. This is the table being stored now for 2 weeks before the client comes to collect it. They are then going to get the base built and installed. So unfortunately, I don't have any final shots for you, but this channel is all around the business side of things, and for me, this is where the business transaction ends. And you may have finished watching this video thinking, well, that was a bit of a boring video, but one of my goals at the start of this year when I announced this channel was that I was going to be transparent about pretty much everything I do. Some of the builds are going to be boring, some of them aren't going to be interesting, but I still think from a business perspective, there's a lot to learn and a lot to see here. The numbers and money that comes in from this commission are still really important to the future of this business. And so with that said, let's have a look at those numbers and see how I did. This was a relatively slow project starting on the 8th of May and went for just less than 7 weeks. This client wasn't in any hurry and there were a few minor hurdles along the way that we had to resolve before moving on. I worked on it for a total of 10 sessions and that came to just over 1,000 minutes worth of work. I spent out of pocket $223.44. That was for the extra timber to make the panel a bit wider and also the finish that I used. But keep in mind, the client provided the majority of the materials, so there wasn't any big spending up front. And I received just over $1,000 from the client. That included those extra line items for that additional timber. In terms of quoting accuracy, I spent 17.45 hours working on the project, but only quoted 13. While there is a difference in that, it's a lot better than my previous job, the high chair, where I was off by a nautical mile. Working an extra 4 hours for nothing, in my books, yeah, that's all right. For the next figure, I'm doing away with the idea of costing my time to work out whether I made a profit or loss. In the high chair video, a number of people left comments that made a lot of sense, essentially saying I wasn't losing money in that time if I didn't have a job that I was missing out. So even though I'm 4 hours short in terms of what I quoted, those 4 hours wouldn't have necessarily made me money somewhere else. So to say that that's a negative value on my profit loss measure is a little bit harsh. That left me with a total profit of $781.56. I'd like to believe that one day in the future, that 4 hours of lost work will become an issue because I'll have enough work coming in. But for now, I'm just gonna take the pressure off myself a little bit and just concentrate on the money coming in. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that video. This is going to be a beautiful table. The video itself might have been a little boring to watch, but I hope you got some value out of it. I've got another project in the works at the moment, which I'm busy quoting on. This is gonna be an interesting video. I'm very excited to share it with you guys. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Take care. My name is Robin Lewis, and I'll see you in the next one.